Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming here tonight and enjoying our first Wanderlust film talk. We're going to be looking at Morocco, Feast for the Senses with Lisa Horton. And Lisa is a well-known jewelry artist and naturalist here. She's very active with the Wood River chapter of the Idaho Native Plant Society. She's in many craft fairs and art shows in the area and the region. And so without further ado, please welcome Lisa Horton.
Thank you. Kristen, are we turning the... Okay. Well, I blame this all on National Geographic magazine. We got a monthly subscription when I was a kid, and I mean, I practically ate that thing. I practically licked the ink off the pages. And I think that's what's responsible for my intense desire to travel and see places that are very different from here where we live. So I'm going to kind of rip through these slides, and I'll make some commentary, but there'll be plenty of time at the end to ask questions. So if you want to know about things like women's rights in Morocco, I mean, my observations about it, or safety, or anything else, save them for the end. Okay, my opening slide is just about why I wanted to go to Morocco, for the color, for the exotic nature of the things that we would see. So this is a map of Morocco. Louder. Okay, this is a map of Morocco, and you can see that we're on the west shoulder of the African continent. Morocco starts up here, goes down, and all the way down here into this Western Sahara, down here by Mauritania. It encompasses the Rif Mountains, R-I-F, and the Atlas, which is divided into the High Atlas, the Mid Atlas, and the Anti-Atlas or Low Atlas. This was our journey. I traveled with Mary Jones. She's sitting back there in the back, and so she can help answer questions. We both really wanted to go to Morocco, and we chose to work with a company from Morocco called Gateway to Morocco, and we had our own tour. There was just the two of us and a driver, and then everywhere that we went, we would have a city guide or some specific kind of guide. So we started here in Casablanca. We flew into Casablanca, then we went up to Rabat, up to Tangier, which is almost chopped off there, and then Chefchaouen and Fez. Here's Fez, and then down through the Sahara here, the Golden Sahara, and through some medieval Kasbahs down here, and then Marrakesh, and then Essaouira, which is a seaport town. So Casablanca is called the White City. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Casablanca, you know. And this is Jamal, our guide, who is just a fantastic, I take that back, he was not our guide. There's a very specific definitive difference in Morocco between guides and drivers. He was our driver. And if the tourist police weren't around, he would also guide us. But they can get into a lot of trouble if they don't have a guide license, which the test is only given every 4 or 5 years, and it's very difficult to acquire a guide license. They get in a lot of trouble, and the tourism police are everywhere. They're incognito, and they're just waiting for the opportunity. So that's Casablanca on the street. Casablanca is a very modern, huge city. And frankly, there it is on the coast of the Atlantic. And frankly, if there's one place you're going to skip in Morocco, it would be Casablanca. It's a good place to fly into. A lot of people fly into Marrakesh instead, and you'll see why when you see those pictures. So we decided on the first night we would do the most touristic thing of our entire trip. We went to Rick's Cafe for dinner. Now, Rick's Cafe was a movie construct. This Rick's Cafe was built to look like the one in the movie, but it feels very cool and authentic. And you can see up here it says Rick's Cafe. And this is the interior where we're sitting here, we're sitting by this light well, and downstairs they're playing jazz. So this was our dinner that night. And I'm not going to describe it too much except to say that it was beautiful. And as all the food in Morocco is, very colorful, full of flavors. And this one on the right, this prawn salad with mango and avocado, has edible argan oil in the sauce. And if you've never tasted that, it tastes like coffee. So it's a really surprising new flavor. We enjoyed our dinner. We went to about the only thing to see in Casablanca the next day, which is the Mosque of Hassan II. This is a huge building built halfway out into the Atlantic. And at one point inside, you can see down and see the water underneath it. The main hall here will accommodate 25,000 people. And I can't even imagine this big square. And during Ramadan, the whole thing is full. So this is a minaret. This is the call to prayer 5 times a day. At first it seems kind of like, oh, and then it's like, oh, I like that. You can see the beautiful stonework, the metal work on the door, carved stone, mosaics, and the green tile roof. Green is the Muslims' color for peace. And so all of the mosque roofs in Morocco are green. We only spent one night in Casablanca, and then the next day we went to Rabat. Rabat is like the administrative center of Morocco. They have a king. Their king is Mohammed VI. And he has 5 imperial cities in Morocco. So he has 5 palaces. But this is where the government work gets done, in Rabat. And this is a cat enjoying a beautiful hand-woven, hand-knotted carpet. Lucky cat. There's Rabat, just up the coast from Casablanca. Sorry, I'm not good at just clicking once. This is the mausoleum of Mohammed V. That's a light fixture over there, this crazy thing. It's about that big. It's like a post lamp sort of thing. And then this is a view of the inside of the dome. Okay, so this is typical of Moroccan ideas about decorative arts. You got stained glass, you got carved cedar wood, you got carved stone, you got plaster work, you got tile, and somehow it all just, it works. Mint tea. Okay, we got to stop and talk about mint tea. All day long they drink mint tea. You check into the hotel, you get mint tea. You sit down for a little break, you get mint tea. But mint tea is not mint tea. The one on the left here was our favorite. It's just fresh mint in boiling water with a little sugar to taste. That was the best in my opinion. This one is fresh mint, but it's in actual tea. Like sometimes it's green tea, sometimes it's a black tea, sometimes it's an herb tea that they call, I don't know, desert tea or something. And when you have mint tea, there also are always pastries, and we'll get to pastries, so don't fall asleep. From Rabat, we went up to the top corner of Morocco, which is Tangier. Tangier is a port city, and it's right across from Spain. It's where the Atlantic and the Mediterranean come together, and you can actually see the waters mixing there. This is a cave, the Cave of Hercules, where the mythic story is that Hercules rested here after his labors. Okay, but they also cut millstones out of this, and you can see these holes, millstone-sized things where they sawed out these. It's a cool place. All right, there's Tangier on the map. This is a typical outdoor restaurant anywhere along the coast there. This guy is waiting to show us to our table, and he's already seated our driver indoors, because you're not allowed to sit with your driver in public. So you can see the traditional fishing boats over here, and some of the city. These are street scenes from Tangier, which is pretty typical of Moroccan towns. Narrow little streets that motorcycles zoom down, or little truck kind of things that are very tiny, but very narrow, very deep. And this is just shows you all built on the hillside here, and houses and twisting, turning alleys. All right, so there's my slide from the title. These are pigments. This is for paint, for painting, for dyeing fabric, for beauty products. They mix a lot of this stuff and use it for facial treatments in the hammam. The hammam is the traditional steam bath where men and women go at different times to purify themselves. And this slide shows some of the other things. This is salt, some herbs, some flower petals. And they also use this stuff called black soap that's kind of, I don't know, the texture is kind of hard to describe. It's kind of a soft soap, but it's clearish. And they sell it in big vats, and you just scoop some out, and then you can mix the tea or the saffron or the indigo or the charcoal or whatever can be mixed with that for its beauty properties. Carved stone again. This is a Quranic school where they go and learn about the Quran and memorize it. But you see the support structure here. This was right after that earthquake. And we're in the north of Morocco now, and the earthquake occurred in the Rif Mountains over where we're going to be going, but there was some damage in all the cities. Beautiful doorways everywhere. Carved wood. Can you see the detail on the lintel there, or I think that's whatever the door frame is. Mosaic tile, painted tile, gorgeous metalwork with stained glass in it. And this is just like everybody has these. All right, a little bit of vocabulary. Riad is a hotel or a guest house, and a lot of them are converted from palaces that go back as far as the 16th century. Some of them are combined together, smaller buildings, but so they tend to be, the floors, you go a half floor up to this, and you go, have to go up there before you go down to get over there, and they're very charming. Medina is any walled city. So in a city like Casablanca or Rabat or Tangier, the old medieval city still has the walls, but it's inside of the city itself. So if it's a small town and the whole thing is walled, that's a Medina. But if it's inside a big city and it's walled, that's a Medina. A souk is the marketplace inside the Medina. There are other marketplaces, but the souk is inside the Medina. Kasbah is a four-towered fort. I'll show you one shortly. A derb is a narrow twisting street. You'll see some pictures of derbs. And bab is a gate, a big ornamental gate through the walls of the Medina to get inside. So we started now on the part of the trip that was the most exciting to me. We went to Chefchaouen, which is in the Rif Mountains, R-I-F Mountains. And these are tourist postcards. I didn't think it would really look like that. You know how postcards are. But I was wrong. So there's the location of Chefchaouen up there, just southeast of Tangier. So this is a view from a distance of Chefchaouen, and see how much blue there is. A long time ago in Morocco, there were Berbers who were semi-nomadic who lived in the Atlas Mountains, and there were Arabs and Jews. And most of the Jews eventually moved to Israel when the state of Israel was formed, but their color of peace is blue. So Chefchaouen has kept the blue, and it's not like the Chamber of Commerce said, okay, everybody has to use this paint chip and it has to be this color. No. So there are a lot of different shades of blue that you'll see, but it's somehow that's much more charming. This is the Derb, the narrow alley going up to our hotel. And you can see the vines here, and there are pots of flowers, and you'll see lots of cats in these pictures. And then this is the view from our terrace, our private terrace of our hotel room. These are grapes. You see blue houses back behind and a nice sunset. Now, I wouldn't normally show you pictures of the bathroom, but this was so cool. Look at this. Here's the stained glass door and the old, I mean, this thing must be old, into the bathroom. And here is the shower. And it's not matchy, you know, but it's feels authentic and charming. Really appealed to me. Now here are two more Derb pictures. If you can get the perspective here, these steps are going down, and this red tile little awning is sticking out up here almost above our heads. So you can see you've got a real powdery blue, you've got darker blues, you've got grayer blues, you've got more tealy blues, more purpley blues. And this one is steps going down. Here's a little shop. Here's some earthquake damage. Now, the Medina of Chefchaouen, it's just not that big. And it seems like it would be hard to get lost. And of course, we never got lost, no. And if we did, we wouldn't have admitted it. Cats. There are cats everywhere. The Moroccan people love the cats, and the cats keep the mice and rats down. So the shopkeepers do feed them to keep them around. So they're fed pretty well because you want the cat to stick around your shop. And they're I don't know, they're perfectly at home. Look, it's just sleeping there on the sidewalk. And this one is next to some hand-knotted carpets. All right, two scenes in the souk in the Medina of Chefchaouen. This is a little snack shop. Don't you love the old-fashioned Coca-Cola sign up here? And then this is a shop selling thread, embroidery thread, buttons, beads, all those things to embellish clothing. And the shutters just open. There's the shop. And if you're out wandering around and the shutters all start to close, you don't have a clue where you are. All right, time to talk about food. We ate a lot of lunch. We didn't mean to eat lunch, but somehow it was always a good time of day to stop, and I don't know. So we ended up just eating fruit for dinner almost all the time because we ate so much lunch. So the savory dishes that you would tend to find in the kinds of places that we ate lunch, we did not eat in the street stalls. And our driver, Jamal, told us that it was safe in the restaurants where they took us to drink the water, to eat the salad, because they wash everything with bottled water. And we didn't have any problems. So this is a tagine. A tagine is kind of a stew that's baked in a terracotta or clay bowl with a cone-shaped lid. I know you've seen those on cooking shows. And they bake them in the oven, and then they take the lid off and they bring them to your table just bubbling. They're so hot. This one is chicken with green olives and spices, and this is preserved lemon. The lemons are preserved in salt, and they have a very, you don't really eat them, but they have a really particular, wonderful flavor. So here's a list of common ingredients that we found. We didn't try everything, but you've got lots of different proteins, lots of different vegetables, but the spices are so different from what we eat here, different from Indian food. They start out about the same, you know, but it's just that they're combined differently. So harissa is a paste of chilies and oil and garlic. And you can buy it here, you can buy it in a tube, and it's really great on tuna sandwiches and stuff. But it's an ingredient in a lot of these dishes, as are apricots, prunes, almonds, raisins, preserved lemon, olives, olives, olives. Every time you sat down to eat, you got what they call Moroccan salads. That was a bowl of olives and a bowl of carrots with cinnamon that were cold, and a bowl of sort of a coleslaw, and the bread. Look at this, every meal, this wonderful Moroccan bread. It's no wonder that we had to eat fruit for dinner. Now, these are examples of couscous. In Morocco, traditionally they eat couscous only on Friday. So on Friday is the day when I should say that Islam is the state religion of Morocco, and 99% of the people there are Muslim. And on Friday, the men are required to go to the mosque. Otherwise, they can pray at their workplace or in their home or, you know, wherever they happen to be. But on Friday, you have to go to the mosque. And then you go home and you have couscous. Well, the women obviously aren't praying, they're cooking. So couscous is kind of a pasta kind of a thing that I think they must press it through a sieve or something, because it's very light tasting. It's not like the dried stuff that you get here. It's made fresh. So this is a couscous with caramelized onions, almonds, chickpeas, and cinnamon and raisins, and it was astoundingly good. And this is a vegetarian couscous with carrots and potatoes and caramelized onions, and then look at all the little side dishes back here. So we ate very well. They also eat kebabs, you know, like little skewers of spicy chicken and lamb and beef and stuff. And then also a dish called pastilla, which I liked very much. It's chicken in a sweet and salty sauce inside of phyllo dough. And they make the phyllo dough fresh in the market. You can see the women in there rolling out the big sheets of phyllo dough, and people come in and buy it fresh. So we moved on to Fez. These are some shots from our hotel, which was rather grand. Has this beautiful courtyard lit at night, and look at the stained glass here. This is the hallway that goes to the stairs that went up to our room. There's Fez. Now, somebody asked me the other day, well, is it the same as the hat, the Fez, the hat? And apparently the word Fez comes from the little berry that they used to dye the wool that made the hat. So it's kind of like the house that Jack built, you know, and it's mostly pronounced there as Fes with an S. All right, so we're driving down the road, and here's this place that all these trucks are pulled up to. People are bringing their olives. Jamal, stop, Jamal, Jamal. So Jamal pulls over, and we go into the olive press. So there's just this pile. Look at those. And some are green, some are black, you know, just depends on when they were picked. And you bring your olives in and they weigh them, and depending on how many kilos of olives you have, they have some sort of conversion factor to tell you then how many liters of olive oil you're going to get in return. So it's murky, you know, and this was the beginning of the olive pressing season. And supposedly this murky olive oil is very good for old people, so I bought some and brought it home. So Fez is also known for ceramics. Here are just some examples. Here are the green tile roofs. This is looking down on the roof of the mosque in Fez. Here's an inlaid tile floor, another tile floor, more tile floors. And this is the pottery where they make tiles. They just have forms out on the ground, and there are guys out there slopping wet clay into the forms and smooth them down good, and after they dry in the sun, they trim them up and whatnot. They fire them in a kiln, and they're glazed. And then I'll show you what they do with them next. But this is the kiln, and this shows pots, dishes stacked in there. So I said that the tagines were terracotta, they were the red clay. But those are considered the lesser quality. The white clay, that's the good stuff. So you can see that these are all the white clay. Now the second thing that determines the quality is how they're fired. Were they just stacked up in a stack, so when they take them apart they're going to have marks in the glaze? Or were they separated, or were they just fired singly? And that all factors into the price. And then you can see here, I haven't talked about language, but this is in French, this is in Arabic. So in Morocco, the Berbers, who are the semi-nomadic people who live up in the Atlas Mountains, they speak about 5 dialects of Berber, or as Jamal always said, Berber. And they also speak Arabic, because Arabic is the first language of the country. But everybody also speaks French, because the French were the colonial power there until the late 50s. And for tourism purposes, they all speak English. So it's pretty impressive. Arabic clearly is a written language. Jamal said that no one can read Berber. No one reads and writes Berber. It exists, a written language exists, but it's not used. And I'll try and show you an example on one of the signs. It's more simple looking than this calligraphy type of the Arabic. All right, so they take these tiles after they're glazed and fired, and they use a hammer. There's a pattern drawn on this white tile, and the hammer has a chisel tip. And they just peck at these things, and somehow or other, they make these, see the shapes, the little multi-point stars? Here's a whole pile of them that they've made, and they sell these for people to use in inlaid tile floors. And here's an example. These two, you see how perfectly they fit together? It's astonishing. So now just to remind you, now look at that tile floor. I think now you'll see that with a little bit fresh. And this is all one floor. I mean, they just have some of this and some of that, and the walls are something else, and it's just wonderful. So here's the master. He is drawing in black on this white clay bowl. His apprentices will fill in the colors. And they go through a long apprenticeship, boys and girls, to be able to learn to do this. And it seemed to me that the decorations were either calligraphic script from the Quran, or else they are plant motifs that are kind of abstracted. There's 4 bowls that I bought. I would have liked to have brought home stacks of them. So you see, this is calligraphic, no black outline. This is just the red painted directly onto the white clay. This is in the yellow, has the little black outlines. So that one's a little less calligraphic and a little bit more plants. And then these 2 have more colors, but every bowl is different. And every one of them wanted to come home with me. In Fez, they do all kinds of stuff. They dye and tan leather. So you go into the souk, the leather souk, and the proprietor of the leather shop, where they're making handbags and jackets and all this stuff, will take you up to a balcony about 4 or 5 stories up and hand you a wad of fresh mint and say, hold this to your nose. And you walk out on the balcony, and way down below you are the dye pots and the tanning pots. And we were there when it was cool. I cannot imagine what it smells like in the heat of the summer. So they soak the sheep skins. You can see there's the ones with the texture in them to get the wool off. They call that the dead wool, and it's used to stuff the ottomans and such. It's not used for clothing. And all the rest of these are dye pots, and they're using traditional dyes. They're using indigo, tea, saffron, clay. Here are some of the lighter colors over here, and then they mix them to get every color that you can think of, and yet the colors seem to have a unity to them, to the palette. Our hotel, a decorative door with carving and painting, and an old olive jar. This thing is this big. Now the bumps, see the bumps on the door of these? We were told that this started in Tangier because they had the madrasas there, the Quranic schools, and blind people would come, and because they could memorize really well, and they would help with the teaching and but they had to get around the city. So these metal brads on the doors, every one is unique. And they could find their way through the Medina by feeling of the doors. I don't know if it's true, but it's a good story. So Volubilis is a Roman ruin that's south of Fez. It was the westernmost outpost of the Roman Empire in Africa. And they took grain and oil and exported it to Rome from there. And I don't know how many years it lasted, but the ruins are pretty impressive. This is, anybody know what this is? It's asphodel. It's not in the same family as hyacinth, but it is a monocot. It's one of the lily type things. And it featured in Roman and Greek myths. It was the flower of the underworld. And it was growing wild there at Volubilis. So here's some of the ruins. A very interesting place to spend an hour or so, but the sun, the intensity of the sun, it was like being in an oven out there. So we stayed an hour. These are the old columns, some broken columns here. Pretty well preserved. You can see the filled in brick parts. That's where they've had to do reconstruction, but they're letting you know what's old and what's not. And then the mosaic tile pavements. That's the real reason to go to Volubilis. All these tiny little chips of stone making these picture scenes that were inside these grand Roman houses. Volubilis is a World Heritage Site now. From there we went further south down to the Golden Sahara. The dunes there are called Erg Chebi, and the reason you go there, some people go there to slide down the dunes on snowboards or whatever, but surfboards, I don't know. But most people go there to go to one of the desert camps. So there are camps out in the desert, maybe an hour on a camel. I don't know how far that would be, it's not that far. That are various levels of luxury. They can be just Berber nomadic tents, or they can be really something. This is my camel. I didn't ever quite catch what her name was. I asked repeatedly, and then it got to be embarrassing, so I stopped. So this shows you down here at the bottom, Merzouga and the dunes of Erg Chebi. So before we got to the place where we were going to meet the camels at almost dusk, so we had a day to kill. So we went to this very old Medina in between Volubilis and the dunes. And I just love this with the light filtering through and the produce for sale. Here's a big bowl of indigo and peppercorns and other spices in one of the spice shops. These little cones of, these are spices, different kinds of paprika and curry. And this particular shop, they mix their spices with a little bit of lemon, which he said helps them to last longer. And they were wonderful. This is a big bowl of rosebuds. Morocco's a big rose growing country. And they make, I guess in the right time of year, the country is covered in roses. And they harvest them and they press the rose oils out of them and use it in cosmetics. So one of the interesting things that I saw in the spice shops all the time was stevia. We'll get to the pastries, but remember I said that the mint tea has sugar and the pastries are very sweet, and the people of Morocco have very high rates of diabetes. So they've started using stevia, which is a natural sweetener, an herb sweetener. Here's another spice shop with the things in these blue and burlappy looking bags. And we went to the date market. Now this is the date market is a whole separate market. And there were about, I don't know, 20 different stalls with dates. They grow a lot of dates in Morocco. And we kind of went, we didn't mean to buy so many dates, but I think we got lost in the conversion of the kilograms and the pounds. And I think we each bought 10 pounds of dates. But mine are all gone now. All right, so now we're getting ready to go out into the desert. So our driver, Jamal, fixed up Mary with her scarf to go out into the desert. Now, they told us, you know, they'll be blowing sand and you need to cover your face and you know, well, it was a perfect day, no wind. We didn't need any of that, but anyway, Mary's a really good sport. She always let them dress her up. This is our camel guide on the left, and he's writing things in the sand, writing our names in Arabic. And here Mary and I on the right on our camels against the sun that's going down. You can see why these are called the Golden Sahara. These are dromedaries, so they're just one hump, and the saddle fits kind of behind the hump. And at first it seemed very comfortable. You know, they get all the way down on the ground, you get on. When they get up, they kind of do like I do when I get up, you know, get my rear end up in the air first, and then this part comes up. And it was fine for the first 45 minutes. And then I was ready to get off. It just becomes a little bit too much of this sort of thing. There's your obligatory camel shadow picture, National Geographic. All right, so we're out at this camp in the desert called Sahara Stars, and it was canvas tents on concrete foundations. They had wooden frameworks for the canvas. They had windows that opened. They had flush toilets. They had very comfortable beds. And I just took this picture to show you. This is from right in front of our door. This is at night. You see, it's just black out there. And then this is the same lantern from a little different angle in the daytime. They said the stars would just be, but they're not as good as our stars here. There's a lot of dust in the air in the Sahara. We also stopped at a argan oil co-op. Argan nuts, the trees, only grow in Morocco. That's the only place they grow. And if you've not heard the word argan before, if you've ever seen the Moroccan oil hair products, that's argan oil. And there is one in its shell and out of its shell. So we went to this Jamal again, stopped on the side of the road, dug around underneath this tree and found us some argan nuts. So we went to this co-op. I'm sorry, I'm not good at this. And the women can't just go work, right? Because of dress code issues and all kinds of stuff. So there are a lot of women's co-ops where they do things to make money. And this argan oil co-op is one of them, and there are a lot of these. And she's sitting, they were all sitting on the floor, and they're singing and they're talking and, I don't know, joking with each other, and they seem to be having a really good time. So the argan oil that's for beauty products is just pressed from the nuts. The argan oil that's a food product, you have to toast the nuts first to make them edible. So they're having a really good time, and they were singing a song for us and all this stuff, and they decided, being a bunch of women having a good time, they're going to dress us up. So here's Mary. She's being a good sport and looking very calm, and wait till you see the picture of me. Not happy. Okay, so after the desert, we went to a medieval Kasbah called Eight Bin Hadou, which is a World Heritage Site, and then the Dades Gorge also, which we'll get to. This picture is just what most of the little cafes that we ate in looked like. There at the bottom is Eight Bin Hadou. There's several Kasbah, medieval Kasbah towns down there. Morocco is known for fossils. This is Orthoceras, those long black things. And look from the ancient sea, ammonites, starfish, huge trilobites. And there are stores all over the place selling this. And if you want to buy this kind of stuff, go to Tucson next week, because they're selling it all. The Moroccans are down there selling it all. All right, this is a typical small town. This is a date palm grove here. And everybody has their plot marked out, and they collect the dates. And Jamal said that his sister supports her children with her date palms. So they're a valuable asset. This is Eight Bin Hadou. So this is a Kasbah. 1, 2, 3, and the fourth tower's back there. It needs 4 towers because you can have 4 wives, according to the Quran. So you need 1 tower for each wife. But this is a fort. So this would have been on the caravan path long, long ago, and they needed protection. That goes up the hill there. There's an old tower up there that was a big tourist attraction until the earthquake took it down. This town is known because it has been the setting for movies. The Mummy, Lawrence of Arabia, and The Gladiator were all shot parts of it were all shot here. This is a big dry riverbed out in front. And then on the left, you see the decorative motifs made by just leaving holes in the mud brick, and then they plaster over it with more mud. On the right, entrance into the souk. There are only 2 families who still live in the Medina here. It's a World Heritage Site, and you can see on the right how the mud walls break down. So that has to be continuously repaired. On the left behind the pot is what they look like when they're in good condition. They put straw and stuff in them. All right, Dades Gorge is the slits a slit in the earth between some of the high Atlas mountains. And there are several of these gorges. Dades is the most well-known. And there's a gorge. And this is the road going up to the rim where our hotel is. And if you think this road is bad, you should have seen the road that went from this road to our hotel door. And inside is a picture of our guest house, our riad. You can see, multiple stairways, balconies. It was very charming, and we wished we could have stayed longer. It took so long to get there that we didn't have a chance to look at things. But this would be the outside of what an old riad would look like, and they washed their rugs and they're hanging out to dry. And here's a very happy cat on a hand-knotted carpet. Okay, we're getting on towards the end of our trip. Marrakesh, my favorite. More spice market stuff. There's Marrakesh down at the bottom. We asked Jamal, do you know the song about Marrakesh? He didn't have a clue what we were talking about. And so he found it on his phone and played it on Spotify or something, and he didn't get it. It was all kind of embarrassing. I don't know. This is our hotel in Marrakesh. We were, I think, right up there on that level. And you can see our room, it's small, but the ceiling is taller than the room is wide. But it was very, very comfortable, very nice. These beaded lampshades and rose petals all over the beds. This is the mosque in Marrakesh. There are only 2 mosques that non-believers can go into in Morocco, and this is not one of them. We went inside the one in Casablanca, but we could not go inside of this one. And this is the Bab, the gate that goes into the Medina. More tiles. You're just lucky I didn't show you all of the tiles. Here's some more tiles. And this is carved wood, and this is carved stone with mosaic inserts. And these are all on one wall. You've got mosaic, carved tiles, and then you've got some inlay, and then see the calligraphy here in Arabic? That's all carved stone. Okay, the big tourist thing in Marrakesh is the main square, which is called Jima El Fana. And this is early in the morning when it's very calm there. The souk, the entrance to the Medina and the souk would be back in the corner here somewhere. This thing is huge. And it is the gathering place. So in the souk, we wanted to find the fabric dyeing or wool dyeing. You can see the wool hanging here. And these are dyeing pigments, and this is wool that's been dyed, and this will be used in the women, only women, not carpets. So these are all hand-knotted carpets made from that wool. And these are tooled and embroidered leather shoes that you see everywhere. Now the men weave also, but they weave these lightweight scarf things out of, they call them silk, but it's agave, from the fibers of the agave. So here's Mary looking very fetching in her blue. The shopkeeper was just determined. All right, time to talk about Moroccan sweets. This is in the souk, and the top of this plastic sneeze guard is about this tall. So he's up on a slanted floor looking down where he can reach everything in his display. And you buy these by the kilo. So here's a blow up and some of the ingredients that makes them so different. They all pretty much contain almond paste, but other ingredients, and they're just beautiful, really beautiful. Our favorite day, I think, was when we had a free day and we went to the Jardin Majorelle. Remember, everything there was French. This is a garden that the painter Majorelle built, and then he died and it sort of went to ruin, and then it was bought by Yves Saint Laurent, the fashion designer, who had become infatuated with Morocco, and Yves Saint Laurent moved there and redid the gardens, and they're very colorful. You see these really strong color contrast, the turquoise, the orange, the terracotta orange with all the plants. Really a beautiful place full of exotic cacti and succulents and bougainvillea and just all kinds of, I'm just going to flip through these really quickly. Just a gorgeous place. Well, after spending the morning, of course, we had to eat lunch. And so the old courtyard of the old villa is now the Cafe Majorelle. And so we had these ginger and some, I don't even remember what was in them. They were really powerful ginger drinks, and roasted bell pepper soup and bread. We had a wonderful lunch in this beautiful courtyard. Pierre Berger was Yves Saint Laurent's partner, and they restored the garden together. And Pierre Berger was a collector of decorative arts from the Berbers. And so they put in a museum of his collection, which is extraordinary. And next door is the Yves Saint Laurent Museum, which was, I think, opened in the 2017, I think. It's fairly new, that has examples, the major pieces from his couture. And you can't take pictures inside the Berber Museum, so I bought a book and I just sort of stole a couple of pictures so you could see. The Berbers are extraordinary craftsmen. The picture here on the front of the book, this is silver with inlaid coral. This picture, they've painted white phosphorescent dots everywhere to make you think like you're out in the desert, you know, with the stars. And they're just heaps and heaps of these incredible headdresses with enamel and silver and big coral and amber and turquoise, and just, you'd have to see it. It's just really amazing. And then this is from the book also. These are weavings, they're baskets, they're wood carving, pottery. It's amazing. All right, so at the end of our day, we decided we would go back to the square. So now you can see it's getting quite a bit busier, and there's a lot going on there. You got snake charmers, you got people singing, you got storytellers, you've got fortune tellers, you got henna artists. All this is going on. Plus, you can buy glasses of fresh juice and fruit and cooked food, and just, you know, it's a circus basically. So we decided we get henna. So Mary is at the bottom here with this woman who is painting a paste of henna on her hands. So here is a cobra. Now, this is a water cellar, traditional water cellar, and they have their own cups and you buy water, but you don't want to do that. But to take a picture, a better picture of the water cellar or the snake charmer, you're supposed to pay. And Mary was being sneaky. These are her pictures. So here is our henna. Now the henna is from the henna shrub, it's paste. And after she squeezes it all onto your arm, then she puts glitter on it. And then after it dries, of course, that all falls off. And it can last, depending on the quality of the henna, from a day to 5 days. It was really fun. We really had fun doing that. Our last stop was Essaouira, which is a seaport on the Atlantic. It's a big fishing area, and it's also a holiday resort for Moroccans. And I guess lots of Israelis like to come also. This is just a shot of a cat sitting at one of the fishing stalls. You can see the sea urchins and everything there. And there's Essaouira down there. So we spent an afternoon doing what you ought to do in a beach town, which is just sitting there and having a drink and eating an awful lot of olives and just sort of observing people. And you see this woman right over here. She's got kind of a traditional head wrap on and kind of loose clothing. But the younger people, I think it's about not showing the skin more than about not showing your form, because the younger girls wear skin-tight jeans and skin-tight long-sleeve t-shirts and a headscarf. So you see quite a variety. So this is one of the stalls selling fish. I just love the decoration on the little cart. This is out on the pier, and here's a big bunch of fish for sale. And prawns and a crab. The boats are all that sort of blue. They're just beautiful. And this is the wall of the old city. You can see it better here where it crosses the water. And there'd be cats going from, walking from boat to boat looking for stuff. More cats. Essaouira is also known for wood carving. So these are inlaid boxes of cedar wood and abalone and other darker woods, and beautiful work and cheap. The last night we took Jamal out to dinner. Now I said that he couldn't be seen with us in public. Well, Essaouira is not as big of a tourist town as some of the others. So he went and talked to the restaurant owner to make sure it was going to be okay. And he met us there. He could not be seen walking with us. And when we left, he was worried about us getting back to our hotel safely, which really wasn't an issue. So he walked on the other side of the street from us so he could keep an eye on us without getting in trouble. So you can see the menu is in French. That's normal. So I'm going to leave you with a bouquet of bougainvillea. It's there in Morocco, everywhere, in every color that you can imagine. I hope that you'll go to Morocco at some point. The people are lovely. They all say, "Where are you from?" And you say, "U.S." And they say, "We love the U.S. Did you know that we were the first country to recognize the United States when you declared your independence?" I must have heard that 100 times. They're very proud of their relationship with us, so I encourage you to go there, and I hope you've enjoyed the slides. Now, I love questions.
I have a microphone here, so if anybody wants, let's start on this side. If anybody on this side wants to ask a question.
You had some beautiful pictures of cats. Did they have any dogs?
Yeah, there were a few. I didn't see a lot of dogs, but I like cats, so.
So it's not like we would do that.
No.
I just want to ask about the cave that you went to at the beginning. Did you take a boat to explore it, or how did you see that cave?
There's a parking lot, and you pay your money, your dirhams. You pay your dirhams, and you just walk in and there are pathways, and it's not really like a guided tour. You just walk in there and there are lots of different little nooks and crannies and, you know.
Anybody else on this side? Here you go, Susan.
May I have two questions? I'm wondering about the cost of things there and also what you brought home besides those beautiful bowls.
So they're about 10 dirhams to the dollar. And things are cheap compared to here. But I'm sure we were eating in higher end restaurants. I'm sure you could do better, you know. I don't. The trip was not expensive. To have a driver, have a car, just for the two of us. It was not more expensive than like Road Scholar or Gate One or something like that. But the tips were not included, so we were just tipping constantly, you know, so that got kind of expensive. And as to what I brought, I'd say for the Moroccan people it's very cheap, because I think Jamal said his apartment was $200 a month and he shared it with two other guys, you know. What did I bring home? The 2 cedar wood boxes, a whole lot of dates, a bunch of spices, some perfume from the Jardin Majorelle that they make there that's rose and jasmine and stuff, and some argan oil. I think that's it. I thought that I would buy clothing, but what's available in the souks is just sort of cheap. Yeah. And I brought home some fresh pressed olive oil.
And how were the prices of like hotels?
Could you repeat that question, please?
Susan was asking about the prices of the hotels. Again, we didn't get to pick them, but looking at some of the ones that they picked for us in the guidebook, they seem pretty reasonable. Not cheap, but reasonable. And I'm not really into staying in cheap anymore. I did when I was really young, but not so much now. Doesn't have to be luxurious, but you know.
Well, thank you for a wonderful trip. How would you characterize all the walking and the steps? And are there any elevators or not?
Some of the hotels had elevators, but mostly you're walking up steps, even in restaurants. And a lot of it, like walking the derbs, like in Chefchaouen, it's just little steps, and we did a lot of walking. Yes?
How big is Morocco, roughly? How big is Morocco?
I don't know. Mary, do you know? No. It seemed big because it took forever to drive anywhere. And we were driving it, 60 miles an hour basically. So it must be a pretty big country. I'm sorry I don't have a equivalence to offer.
I think it's bigger than Egypt,
Mary says bigger than Egypt.
but not as big as Mauritania.
Yeah. So there was a lot more we could have seen. There was a lot more I would have liked to have seen. Carol was asking how long we were gone. We were there just a little over 2 weeks. We started in Lisbon, where my friend's daughter lives, and then it's just a really short little hour flight or so from Lisbon down to Casablanca. Somebody else?
What is the chicken phyllo dough dish you named?
Oh, you're asking, that's called pastilla, and it can be made with beef or chicken, traditionally made with pigeon. I never saw it with camel, but maybe, yeah, camel is a luxury there. They say it's very good, although we didn't try it. I've been making it forever because it's in one of my silver palette cookbooks. There's a recipe for it, only they call it bestia, B-E-S. Yeah. More questions?
What are the roads like, especially through the mountains? Did you go through the reef in the Atlas Mountains?
Mm-hmm. The roads are really good. They're narrow, and you saw the ones in Dades Gorge.
Yeah. Is there a lot of traffic?
Yeah, the cities are very full of traffic. There are people on the roads, but for the most part, it's not bad. They have police everywhere. They have police hiding in the bushes with little radar guns. And they have, so for tourists, so it would be tempting to say, yeah, it feels like a really safe country and you could just go and rent a car. We saw so many tourists being pulled over by the police because the signs are in Arabic that say you must stop right here. And you can't read that, so you don't stop. And so they give you a ticket, you know. Jamal just needed to go into the ATM and he double parked, which he should not have done. He double parked, and by the time he went to the ATM, which was broken, went inside to get some cash because he's paying for everything for us, you know, and came back out. The policeman was right there and they had a conversation, and he wanted to see all of Jamal's papers and he wanted to know about us. Where were we from? What were we doing? Why were we there? And then Jamal put some cash into his ID folder and handed it to the guy. And the guy said to Jamal in Arabic, but Jamal told us later, you know, don't let them see that you're paying me. But that's what he was supposed to do. And it was a lot of money. It was like, $100 or something? Yeah, about $100, yeah, which is huge money.
They have like a quota that they have to stop so many people. And there's also the whole like hidden, the ones that Lisa was saying are in the bushes. They'll like tag you with your laser, and then 15 miles down the road there's a stop, and they've already relayed the info. And if you didn't do whatever it was you were supposed to do, or you were going 1 mile over the speed limit, then you get stopped and they tag you for a ticket. It was fascinating.
So I would say the roads are very good. And it would be tempting to want to rent a car and drive, but I really wouldn't do that. Anybody else? Questions about safety or?
So, Mr. Google says California and Morocco. Morocco's slightly bigger than California.
Oh, bigger than I thought then, yeah.
I just wanted to add one more thing, is that if any of you decide you would like to go to Morocco, get hold of Lisa or me, and we'll connect you with the company because they're wonderful. And if you're really lucky, you get to have Jamal as your driver. We really liked him.
Jamal was a sweetheart. Jamal told us, just one more Jamal story. Jamal's in his mid-30s, and he's been married to a woman that he met through friends. And the Berbers, it's traditional, the Berber men leave the mountains, they leave their villages, and they go into the towns to work, and they send money home. So if you're married, the woman is living with the husband's family. And his wife and his sister did not get along. So they ended up getting a divorce. So in Morocco, you can get a divorce. You just say you want a divorce, and they bring you in 3 times. And they ask each person, do you want a divorce? And if both people say yes, then you go on to the second time. If one person says no, you don't get a divorce. But now women are starting to be able to be the ones who ask for the divorce, and women are being able to get child support for, in Jamal's case, he didn't have There were no children. But he pointed out things. He would just point out things, and we'd be driving along, and there'd be a big sandy, along a river or something, you know, and he would say, "That's the place for kissing." So you would go out there in the dark. Couples would go out there in the dark so they could kiss, right? But he said, now if the police catch you, they will fine you at the best. That's your best option, is to be fined. And the worst is they'll go to her family and your family and demand that you marry. He said better to pay the fine. So anybody else questions?
Well, gosh, thank you so much, Lisa. This was really a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.